day 606 of the Trump administration, and it appears we are going to be covering yet another Brett Kavanaugh hearing next week, but it's not the kind of hearing the Trump administration was expecting or looking forward to. Brett Kavanaugh's path to the Supreme Court just got supremely complicated. Tonight, the Senate Judiciary Committee announced it will hold a public hearing next Monday with Kavanaugh and his accuser, Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, a college professor in California. NBC News reports that Kavanaugh spent roughly 9 hours inside the White House today, and that a White House official described him as, quote, chomping at the bit to testify. In an off-the-record interview with the Washington Post, Ford alleged, quote, one summer in the early 1980s, Kavanaugh and a friend, both stumbling drunk, corralled her into a bedroom during a gathering of teenagers at a house in Montgomery County, Maryland. While his friend watched, she said Kavanaugh pinned her to a bed on her back and groped her. When she tried to scream, she said he put his hand over her mouth. I thought he might inadvertently kill me, said Ford. In an interview this morning, her attorney spoke out about the allegation.
She clearly considers this an attempted rape. She believes that if it were not for the severe intoxication of Brett Kavanaugh, she would have been raped.
Ms. Katz, is your client willing to testify before the Judiciary Committee publicly and tell this story?
She is. She's willing to do whatever it takes to get her story forth, yes. She has taken a polygraph. She's a credible person. These are serious allegations.
And again, her client has now given an on-the-record interview with the Washington Post. Today, for his part, Kavanaugh issued another strong denial of the accusation with this statement, quote, this is a completely false allegation. I have never done anything like what the accuser describes to her or to anyone. Because this never happened, I had no idea who was making this accusation until she identified herself yesterday. He goes on to say, I am willing to talk to the Senate Judiciary Committee in any way the committee deems appropriate to refute this false allegation from 36 years ago and defend my integrity. Today, President Trump was standing by his nominee and indicated he is willing to allow the process to move forward at its own pace.
Judge Kavanaugh is one of the finest people that I've ever known. He's an outstanding intellect, an outstanding judge, respected by everybody. Never had even a little blemish on his record. The FBI has, I think, gone through a process 6 times with him over the years where he went to higher and higher positions. He is somebody very special. At the same time, we want to go through a process. We want to make sure everything is perfect, everything is just right. If it takes a little delay, it'll take a little delay. It shouldn't certainly be very much.
President's senior advisor Kellyanne Conway also made an appearance stressing, if not leading, the White House messaging about Kavanaugh's accuser.
Let me make very clear on behalf of the president with whom I've spoken at length about this. So put aside all the nonsense that's on TV and in print from people who couldn't possibly be a source familiar with his thinking. She should not be ignored or insulted. She should be heard.
Members of the Senate Judiciary Committee now have 1 week to prepare for this next hearing. This afternoon, Republicans on the Hill weighed in on the accuser and the next steps.
Do you think that any of these claims are legitimate?
No, I don't. I think this woman, or whoever she is mixed up, but I can't speak for her. All I can say is, no, I don't.
Do you believe Dr. Ford?
I don't know enough about Dr. Ford and her allegations yet to reach that kind of judgment. If Judge Kavanaugh has lied about what happened, that would be disqualifying.
Is there the possibility that you believe her story, but he is still qualified to serve on the court?
I'd have a hard time putting somebody on the court that I thought tried to rape somebody.
The Judiciary Committee's Democrats were pushing to delay this week's vote on Kavanaugh. Before this, they're now arguing for a closer examination of the allegation against Kavanaugh before another hearing is held.
As a former prosecutor, there's no way that I would put a crime victim on the stand without an investigation, let alone a witness before the entire American people. It's a disservice to her and a disservice to Judge Kavanaugh.
There should be a thorough FBI investigation, especially when the two principals are contradicting each other. Why the group of people who left this Supreme Court seat vacant with Merrick Garland for over a year suddenly are so anxious to go ahead with this process is really mind-boggling in my view and raises some issues.
With that, let's bring in our leadoff panel on a busy Monday night. Peter Baker, chief White House correspondent for the New York Times, Sam Stein, politics editor for the Daily Beast, and Cynthia Oxney is back with us, a former federal prosecutor and a veteran of the Civil Rights Division at the Justice Department. Good evening and welcome to you all. Cynthia, you're the lawyer here, so I'd like to begin with you. First of all, let's talk about your takeaway from what is known thus far and the possible optics of next Monday, with the GOP side made up of 11 white males on the Judiciary Committee.
Well, let's start first with the case itself. I was a sex crimes prosecutor. That's the way I started as a prosecutor, and I've looked at hundreds of those cases over my career. And it really is a base credibility balancing, and we won't be able to know that until she testifies. And that's why it's so disturbing that somebody like Senator Hatch would already announce that he doesn't believe her, because he's never spoken to her. He's never read her statement. He doesn't know anything about her polygraph. He doesn't know anything about her statement to her husband or to the psychiatrist or anybody else she ever spoke to about this before it was released. So it's hard to believe that he could be allowed to make a credibility determination since he's already made up his mind. But that's the job here of the people on the committee. And I would agree with Senator from Hawaii that this should have been happened by the FBI first before they go forth and have this public hearing. But it is going to be a credibility balancing act, her credibility with the prior consistent statements and the polygraph, which is very unusual in a case like this. We don't polygraph rape victims ever. So you would never have a rape case or an attempted rape case or a sexual assault case with a polygraph, because we just never do that. So that's interesting. Judge Kavanaugh has had trouble in this hearing with credibility. Senator Leahy has accused him of being untruthful with the committee. So it's all going to play out on the credibility front.
So, Cynthia, I have a dual question for you. Number one, I've not known you to be a political person. You think it would be standard operating procedure or something close to it to have the FBI come in?
Well, I think the FBI should come in. You never have a criminal case where the first thing you do is put all the witnesses on the stand in front of the jury. That's not the way our criminal justice system, that's not the way our justice system works. First, there's an investigation by people who are specialized in doing investigations. And then there's a discussion with the police or the FBI. And actually, in rape cases, more often the police, because it's usually a state crime. But you would have a discussion between the prosecutor and the investigating agencies, and you make a decision about how to go forward, and they'd spend time with the victim, and you'd figure out what to do next. You don't just throw everybody on national television. That's a dumb way to do an investigation, and it doesn't serve Judge Kavanaugh well, and it doesn't serve the victim well.
And Cynthia, here's part 19 of my original three-part question, and then we'll move on to you, gentlemen. When Lindsey Graham kind of skeptically says on Sean Hannity, as he did tonight, that she hired an attorney in August, paid for a polygraph in August, he's just surprised that she wasn't planning to share her story all along. What's the comeback to that?
It's just snarky. That's what it is. It's Lindsey Graham being a tad snarky, and it's unnecessary and unhelpful. I mean, the question now is what happened, not how it happened that it finally came to pass. I mean, the only smart thing to do, if you're a lawyer and you're looking at this case, is to give her the advice, wow, you're going to be taken through the ringer, and let's try to make some steps in case this comes out, as things inevitably do, that we're prepared to battle that. And having a polygraph, you know, there's a lot of talk back and forth about polygraphs because of television and what people think about polygraphs. As somebody who's polygraphed or I don't do the polygraphs myself, but who have used polygraphs in numerous cases, they are a wonderful tool in the prosecutor's toolkit to figure out who is being deceitful and who isn't. And I think it's amazing that she passed that polygraph. In fact, I would love it if maybe Judge Kavanaugh wants to get on the, we call it being on the box. Maybe Judge Kavanaugh wants to get on the box. And while he's there, let's ask him if he's going to overturn Roe v. Wade.
Wow. Cynthia Oxney, thank you. Peter Baker, on to you, to what we witnessed at the White House today. I think you'll agree that was as controlled and as on message as we've seen the president in recent memory. What do you think is going on in the West Wing and in the residence tonight?
Well, listen, you're right. That was a president who was listening to his coaches, listening to his advisors for a change. They told him, don't inflame it, don't tweet about it, don't attack the accuser, don't make this worse than it is. And in fact, that's what he tried to do. He tried to stay on the line that a lot of presidents would if they were under certain similar circumstances. That is, expressing your confidence in your nominee, saying that you're willing to take a delay in the hearing in order to hear out the accuser and not do anything to insult her or to, further make this, the polarized process it already is. And you're right, it's surprising because we haven't seen him do that very often. It does suggest that he does have the capacity to do it when he chooses to. But we'll see how long that lasts. Tune again at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. tomorrow after he's watched Fox and Friends. We'll see what the Twitter feed says.
Sam Stein, to paraphrase the reporting of Ashley Parker of the Washington Post tonight, quoting two intimates with the president. They say the president has never had a special connection or affinity with Kavanaugh. If it comes to it, he'll have to move on. Sam, to your knowledge, is there a plan B?
Well, let me just say, we spent all day reporting what a plan B might look like. And theoretically, you can envision it, which is get Kavanaugh to withdraw his nomination, perhaps before this public hearing on Monday, install someone new, try to push it through, and if worse comes to worse, have a vote in the lame duck session. You'll still have the Senate Republican majority then. That would be the plan B. But from everything that I could get from my reporting, talking to officials who are close to the White House, officials in the White House, they have no desire to go down that route. And it's for two reasons. One is they fundamentally believe that if they are to give in at this point on Kavanaugh, it will invite further Democratic opposition to whoever is that replaces Kavanaugh and any other future Supreme Court nominee. And secondarily, in a crassly political calculation, Trump knows that his reputation with conservatives hinges on two things. One is an appetite for these political fights, and the second is delivering them the type of conservative judges that they dream of. And if he were to back away from Kavanaugh at this juncture, he would be disappointing them on both those fronts right before, 50 days before the midterm election. So the White House is actually in a different type of mode. They are not looking at plan Bs. They are trying to rally their troops. They're trying to threaten lawmakers not to get wobbly. They're looking for ways to assure some evangelical leaders who may have been getting wobbly, and they're planning to forge ahead. It depends what happens, of course, on Monday, because it could all blow up in their faces.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.